times have you questioned your life choices or even felt threatened by some situations? International speaker and author Eric Kruger's latest offering, Dangerous, gives you a glimpse into how you can face all this and actually be a threat to your threats. Now he joins us in studio to unpack this. Eric, thank you so much for your time and coming in.
Thank you.
Good morning. I like the sound of that, being a threat to your threat. We'll get to that in just a moment, but the book Dangerous, what is it all about?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, everything you love is being threatened, whether that's your business, your relationships, your health. It sounds like a pessimistic thing to say, but we know it's not. You know, if you are naive, you might turn away and not look at your threats, but you're going to be outdone. You're going to be caught out. So the best thing to do is to realize there are threats, and how I respond to these threats matter. And so you have two options, really. On the one hand, you might become harmless and you become a victim to your threats. And when that happens, we end up in survival mode. The pandemic was a good example. Very big threat, knocks you back right into survival mode. But what the book is really about is like it's saying there's a call to action that you can be a danger to the danger. You can be a threat to the threat. And when you do that, you become dangerous.
Let's talk about the threats for a moment then. Why are they threats? Are they there because I attract them? Are they inevitable? Why do we even live and function in a world that's filled with so much threats to everything else that we love or work so hard towards?
I think there's just a synergy in that whenever there's a goal that you are working towards, there's always a threat that accompanies that, right? And partly, I think that when we are engaging in the process of overcoming the threats so we can get to the goal, it makes it so much more worthwhile. You know, if everything was easy to get to, then no one would value it anyway. So I think that you can't have one without the other. But so often, when we set goals, for example, you know, we think, well, let me make it specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. You know, we have all these goal-setting frameworks. What they all lack and miss is the fact that there are threats and obstacles that will get in the way. So we tend to think, oh, well, there's the goal, let me just have this straight line to it. But in reality, it's never like that. And actually, it's through the threats and the challenges that you become a better version of yourself and that you experience personal transformation.
I wish I'd heard that a bit early on, you know, as a child, because I think growing up, most of us have probably heard, when you see a threat, run away. If you see a snake, run away. If you see anything that's of danger, don't confront it, just run away. But you're saying that I can actually confront the threat and the danger and intimidate the danger or a threat to a point where I'm now the threat to it, right? I have that agency and that power.
Definitely. And I like that you use the word agency, because that's what it really comes down to, is knowing that you have the control in a situation to choose what happens. And in a weird way, I think sometimes running away might actually be the best thing, right? Like if I come across a snake in the park, like me being a threat to the threat in that moment might be giving it a wide berth instead of in confronting it. But it's kind of that, and I think this is just true for all of us at the moment, for businesses, for teams, is that we have to operate with nuance. We have to know when to do what, you know? And partly what that means is assessing the threat correctly and planning for how you will overcome the threat, knowing that sometimes I should engage, sometimes I should engage, sometimes I should need more force, sometimes less force. So.
Before you wrote this book, when did you come to this realization?
So I do executive coaching, although these days I spend more time with teams. And I remember about 3 years ago, I was with a coaching client, and he was in survival mode. But it was very weird because everything in his life was actually perfect. You know, like he had a good family, business was doing well, teams were doing well, but mentally he was stuck in survival mode. And so we spoke about this and we're like, well, what's happening here? How do we help you escape this? And the way to escape it was to realize that survival mode is the end point. That what gets you there is that you are harmless against your threats. And no one wants to be harmless, right? But in that session, I said to him, listen, you are harmless. Like, if I look at you, that's what I see. Like, there's nothing formidable about you. Where's your edge? Where's your bite? Where's what got you to where you are today? And we unpacked it, and at the end, I said to him, well, if you're not going to be harmless, what will you be? And he said, dangerous.
Wow.
And the moment he said that, it was just like this primal thing for me, you know? And I started exploring what does it mean for us to be dangerous. And it led me down many different pathways, a little bit of motivation, a little bit of philosophy, a little bit of like, how do we make this as practical as possible, to where the book is today.
I mean, I would recommend this book to anyone watching this conversation right now, to all South Africans. But I'm just wondering, because we live in a third world country where there's so many threats, so many dangers, we're trying to maneuver almost everywhere. You look at the food prices, you look at, you know, cost of living, you look at, you know, your employment or unemployment situation, your relationships, I could go on and on, mental health, etc. someone might say, she's Eric, I'm going through a lot. I'm juggling a lot. Do I have the manpower to be a threat to all these things? Can I do it? How will this book assist me?
Yeah. I think it's almost impossible to be a threat to all the threats at the same time. And so your manpower is is a limited resource. And we actually don't look at our threats. You know, I've run this facilitation with so many companies, so many teams. And when we say, like, okay, let's identify your top 3 goals and then let's look at the threats that surround those goals. It's mind-blowing to me how they often don't know what those threats are. So to just say we have threats as this big homogenous group of things that are in our lives isn't good enough. You need to be very specific about what threats are there.
Right.
And then devise a plan for how do you overcome this. So allocate your resources, your energy, your effort to the right kind of threats. And where I think the book is very helpful is that it's not just a book about escaping survival mode. It's about escaping survival mode, but also becoming formidable in your domain.
Right.
So whether you're going from -1 to 0 survival mode to okay, or from okay to great, okay to dangerous, I think the book has the methodology for that, and you can apply it into different contexts.
I like that. Where can we get the book briefly before I let you go?
Exclusive books, Take a Lot, Loot, pretty much everywhere.
It's available right now.
Yes, it's available everywhere.
All right, Eric Kruger, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for empowering me to know that I'm dangerous.
Thank you.
You got that right. I'm a dangerous woman. All right, so there you go. Make sure you get a hold of your book, and we'll be sure to, of course, get your feedback, I'm sure. Just tag us and tell us how you, of course, have been empowered by Eric Kruger and his book, Dangerous.